We are live, ladies and gentlemen, coming at you very much direct from the heart of Hollywood and the
A little bit further away.
the heart of the valley. This is Film Geek Live, Film Geek Primer Live, Episode 2. Still chatting. Basically, we are figuring things out still. We've got Shu and Tremendo are both in Tucson right now, actually, helping solve Shu's domestic issues, which sounds worse than it actually is. I know. Well, he's getting new carpet, and that's not like that doesn't mean anything. That's literally he's getting new carpet.
I think we all know what that slang means.
Yeah. So, well, you know,
he's getting new carpet.
Wah.
Serious.
Yeah. So Tremendo is there, bench pressing the heavy furniture while Shu rolls the carpet out underneath it, and then they're just going to keep everything as is. But until then, Dub and I are here this fine week to discuss a few things. But the thing I wanted to mention to you before we went on the air, and it has nothing to do with the band Wings, is Harold Ramis. Yeah. A great loss. Unfortunately, of course, Harold Ramis has written and directed such stuff as Caddyshack, Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation, Animal House. No, he wrote Animal House.
Didn't he also direct it?
No. John Landis directed. He was one of the writers of Animal House. He wrote Ghostbusters. He directed, co-wrote, and directed the pinnacle probably of most filmmakers' careers. I mean, that alone puts him in classic director status, Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
And he apparently has been quite ill off and on since around 2010.
I heard that too, and I never knew.
No, I don't think I feel as if it was something they kept incredibly quiet because there's always been talk about Ghostbusters 3 and blah blah blah.
Now that's true. I've heard that the video game Ghostbusters that came out should be considered close to as close as we're going to get to Ghostbusters 3.
It's highly possible now, yeah.
It was all three of them. It was everyone involved. I'm pretty sure. You get Bill Murray, you're doing something right. So yeah. I'm pretty sure they all signed off. I wanted to show. This was the. This was the most touching photo I saw.
Is it?
Can you see it up on the screen right now? It's the proton pack with a little Slimer and a silhouette we can only assume is Egon walking off into the nothing.
Yeah, there was another really sweet one where it had I saw that had it was the trap with Egon's spirit hovering above it, and
I had that one too.
Oh yeah, that one really got me. But yeah, it was a crazy way to kind of spend a Monday morning to discover that. That was real sad. The man has been a major part of your and my life as far as his movies. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I found myself surprisingly touched by some of the tributes I heard on the radio, and when you hear that body of work rattled off so quickly, it's powerful. It's also a little intimidating, right?
Yeah. It's incredibly sad. The man was a practicing Buddhist. I don't know if you knew that. I
did not know that.
Yeah, he was back when he made Bedazzled, as a matter of fact. He talked about which isn't it now. Bedazzled, it's not a classic movie by any stretch of the imagination. It's a highly entertaining movie, and it was a remake of a Dudley Moore and Peter Cook comedy back from the late '60s. Starring Brendan Fraser, who's makes a pact with the devil, who is played by Elizabeth Hurley. Anyways, it is filled with. There was an interview with him that I'd read or heard, and it was filled with Buddhist iconography and mythology throughout the entire thing. So it's really it basically is about swinging both extreme ways and finally finding the middle.
Isn't that like a deal with the devil story too?
Yeah. Yep, it is. Yeah, he basically sells his soul to the devil, or he makes basically it's like sells his soul to the devil for 3 wishes or something of that ilk. And but anyways, yeah, it's about finding that the movie is about finding that middle ground, about finding that place that where you're completely content with what you have. You need no more, you need no less.
Oh my God, he wrote Armed and Dangerous.
Dude, he's written a lot. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, one of the co-founders
He
of
wrote Back to
STV.
School.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
the man. I mean, I hate to say this. I feel like the man had more. No, I don't. I hate to say this. He had more impact on comedy of the '80s during that era than Ivan Reitman, who I think is the one who gets a lot of credit for it.
I don't know.
Right? Huh?
I feel like it's interesting because you never hear people talk about Harold Ramis. Like, he was never in the news. I feel like he was never mentioned sort of separate from his legacy until now.
Yeah.
And I really liked hearing about it. I hope it comes up again. I hope there's some foundation or something that starts for Harold Ramis, that, because it's, looking over this body of work, it's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, He wrote
Meatballs, Stripes.
Meatballs.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, to some extent, he kind of helped define the Bill Murray character in an odd way. I mean, I'm sure he wrote
What's
for.
the difference between the written by and the screenplay?
There could have been a story written by somebody. The story could have been written by somebody else, or based off a book, I guess. And the one now I have to admit, now I have to go back and watch this, and I don't know why it's taken me this long, because I'd actually heard a lot of good things about it. Was his last directorial effort as in movies was a film called The Ice Harvest with Billy Bob Thornton and John Cusack. Which apparently was kind of a dark noir tale that, and I don't know if it was a black comedy or not, but apparently it's actually it kind of got bashed when it was released, but apparently is an incredibly underrated and underappreciated film from some folks that I've talked to who I respect. So I'd like to actually, that's one I'm going to have to go and visit, and of course have to now order Groundhog's Day on Blu-ray and watch it continuously. Really, and that's that movie, the structure of that film, and I forget who it was. There was so they in the film they don't explain why this is happening to Murray's character.
Absolutely not. Which
is great. They had written an explanation originally. They had it figured out. They were like, this is the logic behind it, and this is why, and there, it was the hot tub time machine Chevy Chase character of type thing.
Which I never saw that, but I would go with the Chevy Chase character from Modern Problems. Do you remember that guy?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got nuclear gooed and got magic powers.
Right, but it doesn't need a reason. I think you're a lot better off if you, again, like we were talking about before the show, not relying on narrative but relying on character.
Agreed.
So the structure of that story was so simply about his character. It was almost I compare it to A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
It's this like character arc boiled down to as simple yet entertaining as of course I can't come up with it now we're live. Boiling it down to its essence.
Sure.
So that everything else is superfluous. So you don't need to know why this stuff is. You don't need to know why he's doing this again and again. It just becomes very clear, first to the audience and then to him, that he's got like a lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And you're with him. You're with him through that whole journey. It it scenes when it needs to scene. It montages when it needs to montage. It moves along so well so that it actually feels like it has a legitimate narrative climax and a legitimate character climax. It's very, very well put together.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautifully put together. And I feel like I think it was Murray who had said, we don't need a reason. We don't need to explain why this is happening to him. It just needs.
So that's interesting because I completely agree with that. But then you take something else that seems really character based, like Lost, and you almost demand a reason for this stuff.
Sure.
If they could have just arced the characters and landed the characters in different places, Could that show have gotten away with, that much sci-fi the way Groundhog's Day does?
I know this is going to sound odd. I'm going to say no because of it being long form.
Yeah, you need
because
more payoff.
Lost is about the mystery. Because let's face it, all the characters are like, what's going on here? We know something strange is going on. We must solve it. So that becomes part of their motive. That's a heavy part of their motivation, is figuring out why. Whereas Murray never tries, like, he never goes looking for anybody. He never's like he's never trying to solve the mystery of his problem as much as just, okay, well, this is where I am now, and then goes through all those stages of gluttony and
he never looks
depression.
beyond himself.
It completely, yeah, which is exactly why he's in that path.
A very Buddhist line of thinking, that the only solution lies within him. There's nothing outside of what he's dealing with.
Yep.
Other than just becoming a better person.
It all makes sense now. But yeah, it's a brilliant film. I mean, it is a brilliant movie. It's easily a classic. It's one of those that would have never gotten. It did very well at the box office, but no one. I mean, everybody would have been. Nobody ever expected it to win any awards. No one ever expected it to be something bigger than it was. It never treated itself bigger than it was. It wanted to be entertaining first. Everything else is just a bonus.
So charting his decline a little bit, just in terms of writing, how do you feel about Analyze This?
Analyze This, actually, now I have not seen that in quite a while. I saw it once in the theater, laughed hysterically through a lot of it, and then Analyze That came out and probably destroyed anything that Analyze This was.
Exactly how I feel. Yeah.
As well as the fact that the same year that Analyze This came out, I believe The Sopranos debuted.
I think it was like a year later, yeah.
A year later, so all of a sudden it's like the comedy angle to the drama angle shifted.
Right, because I remember thinking that this show just feels like I thought The Sopranos was going to be a comedy at first, and the pilot's got a lot more levity in it than some of the later seasons, certainly. But I remember thinking that The Sopranos was going to try and be the drama form of this concept that was just totally skewered.
Right.
On the big screen. I thought that's tough timing, because I'm sure they didn't plan it that way.
Also, this, and nothing but everything against Billy Crystal. The second one, I feel like I don't know how up against the ropes Crystal was during that time, because was that before or after My Giant?
I think that was after.
You know what I'm saying? So so it's kind of like, because it was after. It wasn't after American Sweethearts, though. It was before American Sweethearts. But Crystal's own work was kind of in decline a little bit at that moment. Right. And Analyze This didn't have I felt like he had stripped his ego away a little bit in for Analyze This. And De Niro really brought it. I mean, this was De Niro's first, since Midnight Run, maybe his first kind of outing into comedy. But then playing the comedic character versus the in Midnight Run, De Niro's very much the straight man, and Grodin's the one that gets laughed. Whereas with Analyze This, in a weird way, even though De Niro's playing the straight mobster, he's so out of it nuts goofy because of his issues.
Right.
That he's the comedian to Crystal's straight man. In the second one, I felt like they brought in more comedy for Crystal, and that screwed it up.
Yes, the second one was very much shticky.
Whereas it was very shticky.
Whereas the first one tried to be a character-based comedy, and just because of these two master performers, there was so much quotable to it. There was it became its own.
Yep.
It got too big for its britches, and then the second one they just forgot. They weren't able to pull off a second character-based discovery or examination of this relationship. It had to be totally forced. Did you see Despicable Me 2?
No, I have not.
I was surprised in the second one that they were able to perform another little emotional revelation of this character as effectively as they had in the first one.
Interesting.
Of course, I see all kids' movies, but in the first one, it's bad guy falls in love with a couple of kids, right? Did you see it?
Yes, first one's entertaining. It's not blowing away any, it's not groundbreaking.
Right. It's very entertaining. Sweet. It earns a couple of legitimate chuckles. and it's a sweet message, and it's got one thing going for it that not a lot of these shows have, which is it's not claw your face off terrible.
Right.
There's a lot of claw your face off terrible shows that my kids get into. That one, not so much. So in the second one, they did it again with, the same way the relationship between him and the kids felt earned. Like they did it, they pulled it off, they made a human moment.
Right.
Did it again in the second one, and I was like, I'm very impressed that you were able to do that. I thought this second one was going to be the big merchandising push for the series.
Right. Right. It would be the Cars 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas getting back to analyze this, they didn't do it twice. The first time they created a real human moment, you believed it, you believed the characters, there was definitely humor inherent in it, but it never got cartoonish. And then in the second one, it got cartoonish.
Right. God, it makes you wonder if the studios approached Ramis about doing a Groundhog's Day 2.
Well, it's interesting because he did the written by for Ghostbusters 2. So he's not without harm.
Oh no. Well, I mean, I don't think I don't think anybody is. I mean, he's no one has had a perfect career.
But however they did in the box office, in retrospect, they're all considered classics, except for Caddyshack 2, which is widely hated.
Now, a question though, is that written by or was that characters?
Characters / written by. He got 2 checks for that one.
Ooh, ow.
And then wow, that was tough. He had a tough run in the late 80s, Caddyshack 2 and Ghostbusters 2. But Armed and Dangerous is a fantastic movie. I stand by Armed and Dangerous.
God, I was listening to another podcast this past week where somebody was completely defending Armed and Dangerous, and I can't think of who it was. Now I think I probably saw it once on HBO or something like that, and I was just so I may not.
No, it's a John Candy and Eugene Levy in their prime.
Right.
For me, it defines the prime of John Candy and Eugene Levy. Although some would say the Schmengi brothers on SCTV were another high watermark for the comedy duo. But if you wanted a fat man and an unpleasant man paired up, you had those two, and then you had a drought for about a decade and a half until Chris Farley and David Spade came along.
Right.
Now, I don't know where we are. The Laurel and Hardy, Abbott and Costello, the fat guy and annoying guy model is a solid one, and you just don't see it in comedy anymore.
This is going to sound weird. I feel like the fat guy comic has kind of disappeared. Because it's like
the fat guy comic, which is surprising because so much more of the country has gotten fat. You would think the fat guy comic would do well. I guess they're still out there.
Yeah, but it's like every time remember when Will Sasso, we thought he was going to be the next guy, and then he lost all that weight.
You need the big guy friend in all the hit movies. You need to cast your Tom Arnolds, right?
Yeah.
It's sad that we had to turn to Tom Arnold to fill that fat guy role. We're better than that as a nation, I think. I mean, I think it's terrible Will Sasso didn't get most of Tom Arnold's roles, although I guess he's a little younger.
Yeah, but Sasso, every time Sasso shows up in something, you're just like he nails it.
Yeah.
I have complete faith in Will Sasso. He's got his weird vines. He had those vine things with the oranges. Was bizarre.
I never saw those. I'll have to look that up.
Oh yeah, they're really interesting. You get the joke after one, but the guy understood. I hate to say this, the art form of the vine. And,
he was able to exploit it. Like, do you follow Patton Oswalt on Twitter?
No, actually, I'm sure I do. I don't check out a lot of the stuff though.
He is made for Twitter.
Yeah. It's Twitter's definitely a comedian's playground for the characters that are necessary to or for the limitations of it. It's all about delivering the lines.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about Frozen.
All right, so sorry, really quick. Let's just wrap up. Harold Ramis, thank you for everything. We'll miss you, sir. Excellent work, and you've left us a great legacy. So thank you for that. But okay, and enough of him. No.
Wait, you just addressed him directly and thanked him. and then was like, enough of him.
And brushed him aside like yesterday's
And then
news.
brushed him aside and moved on with your life. It's almost like even death has no meaning, and we just continue on in this existence no matter what affronts us until our own time.
It is continually part of the circle, but now, yeah, he will.
But in the meantime, movies are great.
Movies are fantastic.
So Frozen. Sorry, got a little dark there. Seeing this movie the second time just made it even better. I absolutely love this movie. Was
it a normal show or was it one of the sing-alongs?
It was a normal show. I don't think I could endure one of the sing-alongs because as much as I enjoy the music in this movie, there's still a lot of music in this movie. It's got a lot of singing.
Well, it is a musical. I mean,
it is a musical. It is a musical, but there are various kinds of musicals.
Quickly, where does Frozen fall for you in the Disney oeuvre?
It's actually one of my favorites, one of my modern favorites. Now, it may be more contemporary, and we'll see how I feel in 10 years, but I certainly like it better than Beauty and the Beast, which got a lot better when I reviewed it. I remembered not liking that movie, but watched it again with my kids and realized that's a tight film. That's pretty good.
Oh, Beauty and the Beast is an excellent, and that's, for me, it's of the caliber of Beauty and the Beast. I don't think I could swap them out. I mean, it will hold up better than Aladdin. You have to admit that. Yeah.
I recently rewatched Aladdin, and that did not hold up. Yeah, peppering it with up-to-the-minute references was probably not a good idea in retrospect.
No, unless Arsenio's show is a huge hit, or was it canceled already?
Right. But I'm sure everyone remembers F. Lee Bailey.
Yeah.
Or was it William F. Buckley?
William F. Buckley.
Probably both.
God, I mean, I remember seeing that the first time, and I laughed, but the first thing I thought was the woof 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 thing. Like 3 months, this thing's gonna hit video, and nobody's gonna give a shit.
Yeah. But so back to Frozen. You know, I know you had, I don't know who's going to be watching this, so I don't want to give too many spoilers away. But I remember you had said that during that big coming out song that there were real lesbian overtones to that.
Yeah.
And I watched it the second time, and what I felt like made it so good was that while that was certainly relatable, I felt like it was relatable across a spectrum of growing up emotions.
Oh, I agree. No, I think now you're right. Let me clarify, I guess.
Because it also embodied a great deal of just general heterosexuality too, from what I could tell. That queen was really swaying her hips and getting into tighter and tighter dresses as she was walking around in the castle.
Oh, it was definitely a blossoming of sexuality. I have no doubt about that. I think where I feel it's the most progressive, and again, it doesn't have to be. I don't feel that it has to be about her coming out of the closet as a lesbian, as much as accepting her sexuality. Now, the concept that, of course,
I think that's definitely how it felt.
She has no love story, you know, whereas the other daughter's given the love story between two men, theoretically. Two. And then, of course, and so her thing is never about, and, you know, let's see, okay, so for me, the lesbian connotation comes from this, her parents realize that she's different from a young age and basically lock her up in the closet, right?
Right.
True, it's a room, but not a closet. So it's the parents unable to deal with who their daughter is. So there's something different about her. There's something, you know, there's something, quote, that normal society can't, you know, accept. So for me, I think as that's to me kind of where some of the lesbian tendencies come out. And again, it's the most progressive film that Disney has put out possibly ever.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I wanted to bring up. So here's a movie that has beware of romance messages in it. Don't fall in love too fast.
Yep, that's a great, which is like a total antithesis to what every other fucking Disney movie does.
Right? So it starts with that. It makes that dangerous, and then it has the damsel in distress at her moment of greatest peril save herself by performing a selfless act. The love that really matters in this story is the love between sisters, no matter how estranged they are. What kind of a Disney story is this? this is a really great movie, and to tell it in this mythic level gave it such a great power, like a I would say fairy tale.
Yeah,
Almost.
Yeah, well, it's very much a modern day fairy tale. It's funny. The people who I know that like it the least are the biggest Disney fans, and their complaints are always, it's not a Disney story. It's this. It's it's like, why isn't the prince this and that? And I'm like, that's exactly what makes it fucking great.
Yeah, that's exactly what makes it good. It's who was it? Yeah, like I think my parents didn't like. Sorry if you're watching. I think they didn't like Casino Royale. It was either my parents or Barbara's parents.
Because it wasn't your father's Bond.
Because it wasn't Bond.
Yeah.
Whereas all the ways it wasn't Bond made it great. Right.
Right.
Not that all those other Bond movies aren't great. I really like Tangled too. I thought Tangled showed some solid footing too as a studio.
Yeah. Oh, Tangled was definitely a huge first step. Especially in the and it's got some great sequences, some wonderful scenes, but it falls under the trap of the typical Disney structure. I mean, it really slides into that to a T. I mean, even to the fact that you've got the funny sidekick horse. Now,
exactly. Oh, that's the other thing that was so un-Disney about this, is that while you certainly have the talking snowman, I thought it was interesting that they refrained from having a talking reindeer, but still let him talk to his reindeer. They did so many tricks to be able to keep in like real commercialism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, elevating it from a storytelling point of view beyond just your classic cookie cutter, like beyond Atlantis. Have you ever seen Atlantis?
No. I think I tried watching that one night and I got about 10 minutes in and I had to shut it off.
All the main characters go through like 8 different flip-flops of being like a good guy or bad guy for no reason. They're all like Anakin turning. It's just like, oh, now I'm mad. I'm gonna go kill younglings. Oh, now I'm sorry I did that. It's there.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Whereas these movies are great. The other element like that, the other element where they take a really commercially viable idea and actually tell it with legitimate storytelling, is they get 2 princesses out of this.
Yeah.
Right? They get a magic princess. They get a clumsy, everyday princess.
Yep.
Those princesses are hot.
Yeah.
Right? Those are very attractive women, both of them.
Yeah.
And they're legitimate, well-rounded characters.
Yeah.
So they're not gratuitous. They just happen to be the perfect thing that Disney needs in order to make gajoodles of money.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant on so many levels for me.
Yeah, and I think it's a great sign of the times, or signs of a great future. Fingers crossed.
Right.
For female characters, and it's interesting. I read an article by Devin Faraci a few weeks ago about how 2 of the top films. So the number 1 movie of 2013 was Hunger Games: Catching Fire, and then I think Frozen was number 3 or 4. It was after Iron Man being number 2. Anyways, Hunger Games was the first time that a female lead had been the center of the biggest movie of the year since The Exorcist.
Aliens
Take that for what it is.
Movie of the year?
What's that?
Aliens wasn't the biggest movie of the year?
No, it was not, apparently.
Isn't Kate the star of Titanic?
Boy, that's a good question. Not sure how you would follow through on that one, but that's a very good point.
Leo's not standing on. Oh, I guess he is standing on the thing.
Yeah. He's king of the world.
Right, but she's in the beginning, like it's her flashback.
Yeah. No. Theoretically, you would say actually, yeah, she is the lead. So to some extent, I guess you may. I'll give you that one actually. I think you got something there.
It's got to be more. I refuse to believe that.
I know it's tough. It's tough, right? But at the same time, it's like it's very bizarre. But yeah, I don't want to say that be happy women that you're being represented more or anything like that, because it's definitely tilted much more towards the male audience. Shut up and go back and make your goddamn dinner for me. Where's my pot pie?
We're not saying that. We completely disagree with that.
Yeah, but at the same time, the cinematic progress to some extent with Bridesmaids and The Heat and some of these other films that are pulling in major amounts of cash with female leads show that there's a strong female audience and that men will watch a movie driven by women, and that's okay, you know. And hopefully these are lessons that are being learned here, and it's not because Hunger Games is a popular young adult. A popular young adult novel can't make that much money on its own, just because of the fan base. It has to have expanded to a much wider base than just those who read the books.
Yeah, I mean, smart people who want to make money are going to gender neutralize their films as best they can. It's the fact that there's a problem just shows, I guess, how endemic something like that can be. Because everyone just wants to make money at the end of the day. They think
exactly. Yeah, it's a business.
They think it's more likely for men to go see. No, flip that. They currently think it's more likely for women to go see a movie with a male lead than it is for men to go see a movie with a female lead. And when you play those numbers, you just put more men in, and then the more men there are, the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
But you start flipping that around. You start showing that there's big money movies being made with female leads. Got something more important? You got something more important to do?
Maybe. No. It's pretty insane I think it's insane that there aren't as many women leads as there should be. It's fantastic that we are actually showing just in the past 3 years, not huge steps, but at least we are seeing progress being made. Even Nicola Hofstadter's Enough Said was a relatively large hit at the art house or at the indie house. Now, admittedly, you are going to have some of the throw into that from the passing of James Gandolfini, but that doesn't change the fact that you know. It was a pretty interesting year.
I firmly believe that film would have been a modest and critical hit, even if he had not passed away.
Yeah. Oh, agreed. I think critically it would have done just as well, brought in just as many people at the box office. It probably garnered a little more attention from.
But that number of people at the box office is really small. I remember I heard some reviewer on the radio breaking down. I wish I could remember what the other movies were, but it was the summer that. What's the Sean Penn film where he plays the governor? All the King's Men? No, all the.
Not Milk is what you're saying.
No, not Milk. Where he was the Southern governor.
Yeah, wasn't that All the King's Men?
Is that what it was called? But
I think so.
It was described as just a fantastic film and great, and it got all this critical praise, and it just completely sank at the box office. And this reviewer was making the point that these kind of grown-up films that are it's a well-known point that are grown-up films that are non-event films that are aimed at a more mature audience. That more mature audience doesn't support those films, or at least not by seeing them in the theaters. They rent them, they see them on TV, they talk about them at dinner parties or on Film Geek Primer. But I did not see all the King's. Is it All the King's Men? Yeah. Only we have a whole host of human knowledge at our fingertips. Oh well.
Yeah, really.
But that the mature audience doesn't go see those films. So I think Enough Said had a limited potential reach in the first place.
I'm just looking up the title to All the King's. Yeah, All the King's Men. Okay, whew, we got it right. Yeah, which was wasn't it Broderick Crawford? I think was in the original, which I never saw.
I saw the original 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
During my 5 movies for 5 days for $5 binges.
Steven Zalian. Written and directed by Steven Zalian. Hell of a cast in that one.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a thought-provoking and substantive examining of yada 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 yada.
Right. Sure. Yeah. We'll get back to that one.
I was too busy watching RoboCop for the 140th time. Old RoboCop. So, tell me a little something about Pompeii.
Oh, I'll tell you about Pompeii. The Departed was one of them that year. Sorry, 2006. Is that right?
That
Children
did
of Men.
what? Was 2006?
Sorry.
All
Doesn't matter. Pompeii. Let's get something really important.
Yes. I want to hear about Pompeii.
All right. So I ran into you and your parents out taking the kids for a walk well, I was on my way with scientist Steph to go witness the cinematic extravaganza that is Paul W.S. Anderson's interpretation of historical events, accurate, not so accurate, called Pompeii. So I was
First, can I say that the thing about Paul W.S. Anderson is that I can't tell if I hate him or want to be him. I envy that man's life and career, and I don't know why.
Well, because he's got a career, one.
So he's got that on me, right?
So he's got that. He's got Mila Jovovich as the wife. He has continued to make genre movies, bomb or no bomb. His last film before this was his interpretation of the Three Musketeers, which was
right.
Have you seen that? That's a fascinating train wreck.
No. I enjoyed the book too much and have seen many interpretations already.
Well, then you should see this one because it's not the book. It's weird. It's got airships and
there's airships he takes to the sky. Oh, you sold it.
Oh no, you have giant airships. This whole thing is about the war, of course, between the two countries, England and France, is all based upon this new weapon, which are giant flying ships.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, but it's the same. But it's got the same plot lines as the Three Musketeers, because it's the whole have to prove that the queen is innocent, so her husband doesn't get angry at her for cheating on her, even though she didn't cheat on. It's almost that's interesting. I've never thought of the Three Musketeers almost having kind of an Othello-esque plot line.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose. A little more. Well, I was gonna say a little more virtuous, but.
Oh yeah, right, sure. But the whole thing about the wasn't it the deal was the diamond necklace is stolen to be planted, so the king thinks that she's had an affair.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just to show she's been unfaithful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then instead of course, getting the husband jealous to kill her or whatever the deal is, so then somebody else can take over, the throne. But this time you have basically the Rosencrantz and Guildensterns from Hamlet moving over to save the day and rush off and sword fight. But anyway, it has there's a ridiculous staying on Three Musketeers just for a minute. There's an opening where Lady not Madame, what's her name? Oh God, what's the Three Musketeers character? Milady de Winter, right?
Right.
I remembered that. Milady de Winter.
That's obviously a good film. Huh.
Yeah, Milady de Winters is part of the Three Musketeers at the beginning, who are robbing something, and it's total Indiana Jones, where the entire hallway, because whatever jewel or whatever they're trying to get at the end, the hallway is full of traps, and so she's Matrix style sliding underneath medieval lasers and bullshit. I mean, it's ridiculous.
How is he allowed to do that? How is he allowed? I guess
it's the life that you were jealous of. It's that thing.
Right. So there it is. So all it takes is the balls, right? That's what I don't have. I don't have the balls to say I'm going to make a movie, and my movie is called Casablanca, and it takes place in the distant future where women don't wear clothes. That's my idea for a movie. It's going to follow the same plot structure of Casablanca, but it's going to have a lot more nudity. And do you know those airships that run on just propellers pointed up? Yeah. It's going to have a lot of those. A lot of
CG. Yeah, it's a travesty.
I'm going to do it all with legitimate effects. We can make those airships now.
Nice. Yeah, it's a weird travesty of a movie, but he went for it. I mean, the real Paul Anderson, as Shu and Gabe Tremendo label him, the real Paul Anderson has had a career that is beyond exception in an odd way. He's been compared. It was funny. He's been compared to Uwe Boll, which I think is a real insult. That's an insult, though. I think Anderson is actually a much better filmmaker. He's no auteur. He's a journeyman. He makes what he can make, and they're all B-movie genre films. But he's not bad. I mean, he does the job.
Right. He's absolutely not bad. And in fact, I could very easily see a 58, 59-year-old Paul W.S. Anderson releasing some Oscar bait someday.
That's called Pompeii. No.
Which circles us back around to Pompeii.
Pompeii, right. Yeah, well, and everybody has their favorite Paul W.S. Anderson movie, because I know you actually liked Event Horizon.
Other than the ending, yeah, I thought Event Horizon was very effective.
And there are a lot of people like the first Mortal Kombat.
Meaning it's
a lot of people, the first Resident Evil, people may consider one of the better video game adaptations. And Resident Evil Retribution becomes a very bizarre art house movie. It's surreal as all.
That's the most recent one, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Watch it.
I was gonna say it looked like from the previews that it went off the rails pretty far, but that can be a good thing sometimes.
It's never. There are no rails. It's a movie that doesn't believe in rails. It has no rails.
Rails. Where we're going, we don't need rails.
Yeah, it is a movie that grows out versus forward. Yeah, it's got a structure that's so bizarre. It's a really fascinating movie. It's not good, but it's it's really weird. I mean, it's really strange. Yeah, because I thought when I was watching it, I thought like the disc was skipping. That's not a fucking joke either.
That's not a compliment to a film. I thought there was technical problems.
Yeah, no. It's not even technical problems, because I thought it was just jumping to a different chapter. The structure of the movie is so strange. It's like it's running through almost like a single long take where scenes just change without you knowing. And it's a fascinating attempt at doing something different. Anyways, so Pompeii. I thought it was a joke that I was supposed to go see this. I just got, my text from scientist Steph that read Pompeii with 3 exclamation points after it, and I said, yeah, right, and then the response was simply Pompeii with 4 exclamation marks after it. And I'm like, and of course, because the running joke was I was doing that with I, Frankenstein like weeks earlier, a few weeks ago.
Did you see I, Frankenstein?
No. We didn't. No. I would never have gone and seen that one. But I kept on. I was like, that was the only movie coming out that weekend, so that's what I kept pushing. So she legitimately wanted to see it, and I'm like, why? And of course, then she's like, he's shirtless. Kit Harington from Jon Snow, who can't apparently. He plays a different character in this one, in which he kind of keeps his mouth closed half the time. And he's
Italian.
Yeah, whatever he is. He's buff as shit. Is what he is. And so we get there, and I'm grumbling, and we're already going to a crappy theater to go see it, which I guess was the price. It was only $9.75 for the 3D show, right?
Yeah, no, that theater. You go to that theater for a reason, and you get what you pay for. Same with the Pacific 5 near us. Just don't mean to call anyone out, but we get what we pay for.
Yeah, I mean, the seats are horrible, and actually I would say the plant that we went to is some extent cleaner, and you're probably not going to be sitting next to a homeless person like you are at the Pacific 5.
Yeah, it's a mid-level theater. There are worse, there are better.
Yeah, and it's so but she's excited because they've got Pinkberry and the 100 the Coke machine that has over the 100 different sodas because you can add the flavors. There's all sorts of benefits to this theater.
For a scientist, I would imagine that would be very distracting.
Yeah, it took her a while.
Yeah.
There was a lot to calculate there.
I would imagine.
So and actually she did. She created the what was it? The orange cream Diet Coke. So it had some orange and some vanilla. Coke in there to try to give it like the orange cream soda feel. The Diet Coke part, I think, is the portion that didn't work.
That's where I would have a problem. And at that point, what are you saving yourself by going diet?
Yeah, I know, because you're already adding the fucking sugared syrup, right? So.
Right. Do you drink that down? Because I see that I don't understand Diet Coke in general. Do you drink that down and be like, whew, dodged a bullet on that one? That was a close call. It was worth all that aspartame in me.
Yeah.
What are you avoiding there?
Yeah, right. There's a certain lack of
separate podcast.
All right, so shitty seats, third row. There's 5 other people in the theater.
Third row from the front or third row from the back?
Third row from the front. It's No. My thing is, when I watch a movie, I want to see, my peripheral vision needs to be the end of the screen. So I can so that's my universe. And also, I don't like people sitting in front of me because what's the theory about as people see it, it alters what's being seen?
The theory you're looking for is called crackpot.
No. There's actual. So, anyways, if you look at it, it's now a wave versus a particle.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, it's that thing. So I don't want the public in front of me altering the movie in that millisecond before it reaches my eyes. I'm a purist.
That's not at all crazy.
No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
Trust me, I don't think I would want this film altered.
Right. You certainly wouldn't want to affect it at the quantum level at which the light rays reach your retina. That'd be ridiculous.
Correct. Thank you. I'm glad you see my way now. So we watched the movie. It's only an hour 40, which is great for
right.
Right, because it's like
they don't have a lot to say. They don't have a lot to tell you.
No, right. Well, but think about other disaster. I don't want to call it disaster porn. Think of other disaster movies, especially from the works of Roland Emmerich, whose movies are continually 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and 30 minutes. You know.
Yeah, and his movies are all easily 40 minutes too long. Easily.
Yes, agreed. So hence this is an hour 40. So right off the bat, you kind of got that going for you.
Right.
The movie starts, and I'm kind of laughing at, I'm kind of like, okay, I get what this is, and because I didn't know going in. I get what this is.
You were surprised.
And the movie ends, and scientist Steph, without skipping a beat, looks, she goes, "That's great! That was great!" And I start laughing my ass off. She was, and here's the thing: is I can neither say this movie is good or bad. It's a movie. There's nothing. You can't expect anything. I mean, I couldn't expect anything from it than what it gave me, if that makes any sense.
Right. It is neither more nor less than exactly what it is.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, it's almost a little more because of the ending. Would you like me to spoil it for you?
Please spoil the ending of Pompeii for me.
Okay, for the none of you watching this, and for those of you, skip forward 10 seconds. Our romantic leads die. They give in to the fact that they are going to die in Pompeii. Oh. They kiss as the giant giant ash thing is flowing toward them. And the last shot, literally the last shot, is like the statues of Pompeii. You see the two lovers embraced, kind of move. You see the camera move around the ash statues of the lovers embraced in a kiss, and you go to credits.
Oh, I like that.
I appreciated the commitment. Yeah, he committed.
That's
right?
Nice.
I was like, okay, dude, you know what? You fucking get points because they're riding out on the horse. They're fucking everybody else is getting blown up and bullshit, and they're riding out on the horse, and Trigger is gonna just zip them out of there, right? And you're like, oh, come on. And then he falls. No, she falls. He gets off after her, and he's like, the horse. We're too heavy for the horse, just like the board in Titanic, right? You get on the horse and get out of here. And she's like, and so you think that okay, and you're like, oh, here comes the Titanic moment. And she's like, no, I'm staying here with you. And so horse says, fuck y'all, and is gone.
That's one smart horse.
Yeah. So that apparently was the eyewitness.
From the horse?
That was, I forget who the character was that actually the one person that witnessed the destruction of Pompeii, John Trilby, the little John Trilby or whatever the guy's name is. But that's I in my mind I'm like, well, that was the horse. Like you cut to the horse like writing the poem outside of Pompeii.
Right.
Oh, what I saw, Wilbur, this was crazy. So, anyways, yeah.
Must avenge those 300.
They look into each other's eyes, and it's like there's no place I want to go. It would be if I'm going out next to you. They kiss. 3D ash comes flying at our face, and we're in video. End of movie. And I was like, that little moment for me, I was like, congratulations, you surprised me a little. You get points for that. Right. Well, everything else about it, and of course, and of course, at this point, I'm so slightly impressed by that moment. I can't help but give Scientist Steph the win on this one. But she's like over the moon about it. I mean, she just thinks it's exactly what she wanted it to be. She wanted, and I said, there's no. It's like, why did they fall in love? There's nothing about them. I don't get why they fell in love. She's like, he's hot, she's hot.
That's how it works with hot people. I'm like,
that's such a classic
person. Being a hot person, I can tell you that's exactly how it works. Go about your day-to-day life, you see another hot person, and you fall in love. And here we are 17 years later.
And I hate to say this, you can't kind of deny that logic in a cinematic logic. You can't.
Plus, it was the olden days. They weren't going to live past 35 anyway. And weren't they in their high 20s? I mean, they're mostly dead.
Yeah, they were old people. Yeah. But it was now here's the character you would love is the guy who runs. So the concept being is that so it starts off like Conan the Barbarian, and you have Jon Snow. Oh,
go on.
So you have Jon Snow, Trip. Oh my God, I can't think of his name now. Anyways, the guy that plays Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
Kit Harington.
Thank you, Kit Harington. It opens like Conan the Barbarian. Kit Harington is a young child, and his character's name, and this actually is where Side Steph truly won this completely. She's like, you can't expect much from a movie when the main character back in this day's name is Milo.
Isn't that a name? Isn't that an old Italian name?
I don't know.
But
yeah, so when everybody else's name is like Avicus and Chrysonius and Flippinicus and stuff like that.
Looking at the names here: Severus, Gratius, Atticus, Cassia, Aurelia, Milo.
Yeah, exactly. Atticus. My name is Atticus. I'm Milo.
Right.
Kit Harington's as a child witnesses his village destroyed and his mother killed by evil Romans, led by
Severus, Caesar.
No, sure, Sutherland, Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, Kiefer Sutherland, Corvus,
and Kiefer Sutherland's evil sidekick, because they always have the evil sidekick. And it's a very Conan the Barbarian scene. It's he witnesses her getting cut down. Cut to, instead of watching him turn the wheel and then get strong, cut to him now. Like some scene takes place back in we are then introduced to Pompeii. Oh look, there's a volcano by the way. Then back to Kit Harington.
We call her Old Sleepy.
In
this volcano in town.
In Londinicus something they call it. It was Britain. It was Britannia Londinicus, whatever London was called then. And that's literally, and that's another one of those last moments where we're like, the famed city of Londinicus. And out comes, so then you cut to shitty gladiator fights in Londinicus, and barbarians, and we're crazy men. Door opens, out comes Buff Jon Snow, slaughters all of them like Tony Jaa style in like 5 seconds. Turns around, walks out. You're like, got it, you're a badass.
Right.
In comes the guy who runs the gladiator fights in Pompeii, who is this shy of hedonism bot, who is your character.
Oh,
this is the guy who, I mean,
all right, I'm sold.
He's got the hair, he's got the goatee with the little lines through it. He's waiting for he's eating grapes. He gets closer to being hedonism bot the more the movie goes along. And so he takes Jon Snow to go fight in Pompeii. And as they're marching to Pompeii, the mayor or governor of Pompeii, who's played by Gerald Harris, his daughter is amongst the caravan, and her horse breaks its leg. And Jon Snow, of course, who's the sensitive gladiator, says, "Let me help," and walks over to the horse and says, to her, and she's like, "Let him help." Walks over. Emily Browning from that shitty Zack Snyder movie, Sucker Punch.
I've just got one question about these two characters. Is he hot? Is he hot?
He's hot.
And is she hot?
Yes, she's hot.
Well, I think I see where this is going, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's like, she's hurt. Put your hand right here on the horse's shoulder, so she doesn't feel more pain than she needs to. And he snaps the horse's neck right in front of her. And everybody's like, "He's a barbarian. He's a barbarian." And she's like, "He showed mercy." Right. So okay, they're in love. So their love story kind of takes place. He sees Kiefer Sutherland and evil sidekick, and he's like, "Okay, that's the guy I need to kill, because I remember him." And he meets up with another gladiator who was Mr. Echo from Lost, and they become like Spartacus and the black guy from Spartacus. They somehow become a team, right?
Yeah.
And there's a fun gladiator fight where of course, the great thing about gladiator fights, and what they don't put a lot of stress on in a lot of gladiator movies, is the fact that they tended to be like theater, so they are reenactments of other bigger battles.
Okay, right.
So you've got all the slave gladiators chained to a thing, and they're there to reenact a great battle that Kiefer Sutherland had won back in the days of 24.
Right.
Against the Russians. And so
Or was it?
Yeah, exactly. So it was. So anyways, shit goes exactly how you expect shit to go. And of course, during this entire time, every so often you cut back to the volcano going, "Don't forget about me." And it's like every so often there'll be a scene of a guy out there. He's like, "What's that rumbling?" And then he falls into a crevasse.
So it's like one of those terrible disaster movies where it's like, "I've got the information that it's gonna blow. I better hop in my car and drive." What movie was that? Deep Impact. Isn't that how Deep Impact opened?
Exactly. Yeah, and the guy falls into a crevice, right?
Yeah, the guy falls into a crevice and dies.
Yeah.
I've got vital information.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That guy. So that guy's killed pretty quickly. And then there are a couple other earthquakes or whatever, and they're getting ready for the big gladiator battle. This big gladiator battle, and they're like, "Okay, we're sending out more men to really kill Milo and his team." And things start to shake, and then Hedonism Bot, is down underneath the Colosseum, and all this time, by the way. So there's also this weird political side where Jared Harris and Carrie Ann Moss, who are the governor and governess of whatever, are trying to swing a deal with Kiefer Sutherland to bring in a bunch of money to build up Pompeii to be a great city. And to be a gem that Rome can look upon and say, "Oh, look at our mighty fine city." Almost has a weird
government funding. Government funding packs always make for compelling films.
Yeah, it almost has a little bit. It has a little bit of.
Tell me what Hedonism Bot does next.
Okay, so Hedonism Bot is down in the stadium underground with all the slave pits and stuff like that, and he looks up and he's seeing all these cracks in his place, and he's like, "Sir, look at this. This is insane. This is new. Something's going wrong." And they're like, "Well, it's held up for 100 years. It'll hold up for 100 more." And Hedonism Bot turns to his guys and says, "We must flee."
He knows it right away.
Off they rush. Right. And here's where kind of some problems come into play timing-wise. He goes, "Quickly to the ships." And so the next wave of guy in the cut back to the Gladiator Stadium, and here comes the new wave of guys to take on Milo and Black Spartacus guy, Mr. Echo, and they're going to and suddenly giant quake hits and a giant portion of the Colosseum falls in, and everybody runs. Now we've turned into the last 30 minutes of the movie. Shit's going all wrong. Volcano's blowing. 50 miles in the sky. Everybody's running to the docks to get on boats to leave. Cut to Hedonism Bot, who somehow hasn't made it to the boats yet. Because I guess he had
the first one to leave and the last one to get there?
Pretty much, right. So he's on, and I'm guessing he probably went to pack first. Because he's on his... It's not a carry. I don't know what you call it. What's the thing called with the guys carrying it? You got four guys carrying.
Oh, I'm sure that's got a specific name, but I don't know what that
We
is.
don't know, right? But anyways, it's a giant open canopy, and it's a bed, right? And Hedonism Bot, much like your photo, is just laying across it, like lounging across this thing, right? As his men are trying to get him to, and he's like, ah, it's like.
So he realizes they have to flee right away, but not like sit up right away.
No. Oh no, he's lounging.
Like lay back right away, and that is a perfect. That is a perfect Hedonism Bot
moment. Yeah, he has to. Yeah. Oh, he's not going to panic. He's got a reputation to uphold. So
he has plenty of grapes.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, and I'm willing to bet you there was probably a bowl of grapes sitting next to him as they were carrying him through the thing. It was I laughed out loud. It was so funny just to see him like lounging backwards, on it, lounging long ways across this thing as they're carrying him through, and other people are rushing by, and I'm like, that's fucking funny.
That's like, yeah. Well, that was like when I laughed in Prometheus when they go to that planet to find life, and their life-finding machines go out and send back signals. And they go, they're probably broken. I'm going to go take a nap. Wait, wasn't this very important to you a moment ago?
That's basically kind of what it is. And this is not, although this was a $100 million movie. And I feel that a lot of the humor is intentional. I feel that the movie's not, it's not a piece of shit. It's not great. Scientist Steph wants it on Blu-ray.
All right.
But
I'll watch it when it comes on Netflix or something free.
Yeah, it's not, and the first 40 minutes, the first 40 minutes or so, 50 minutes, you're going to be like, oh, okay, whatever. And then when the disaster stuff hits, you're kind of like, yeah, all right. But and that when you hit that ending, you're like, you stuck to your guns a little bit, WS.
You kept it short, which is nice.
He kept it short. It's not a good movie. This in 20 years from now, this is not going to be looked back at as a classic.
Right.
I came home because I had seen, I think, a 1960s version of The Last Days of Pompeii a couple years ago, and it was bad. I don't think you can make a good movie. Okay, I'm gonna. There's a side thing to this though. There has yet probably to be a good movie made about Pompeii because you need a lead-in story to get to and then just the disaster just happens. It's not like anybody does anything. It's not like anybody really predicts it. It's not like anything happens to, that we must stop it and they fail. There's none of that shit, right?
Right.
But Robert's...
I think personally, I have yet to see what I would call a good disaster movie. What I've seen are cinematic attempts to show spectacle wrapped in some kind of flimsy excuse of a narrative.
Right.
I feel like every disaster movie that has the disaster as either the title or the main character,
it's spectacle,
is fundamentally flawed. I can't find myself caring about any of the characters, and I think it's interesting that how many like volcano movies or disaster movies have there been? Like, as special effects get better, the structure and the general idea of a disaster movie doesn't change much.
Sure. Well, it's never changed. Even it's like, because I at times I was thinking of Earthquake with Charlton Heston from the 70s, where L.A.
Yeah. I always liked Towering Inferno. That was a good one.
Right, and they're all the same. And they're all the same thing. They're all giant. Now, it's interesting, though. I think what also keeps Pompeii short is that it's not a, what do you call it? Oh, my God. And we're live. Movie with a bunch of people.
Mad World?
No, not a movie. Just movies with an ensemble cast. They made it not an ensemble cast film. They keep it limited in its characters, so that way they can keep it short.
So you're not watching... It's not Magnolia.
Exactly.
That ends with Pompeii blowing up.
Right. And it's not, but it's not like, but like Towering Inferno is a giant ensemble piece.
Right. Poseidon Adventure.
All of Emmerich's stuff are giant ensemble pieces.
Yeah. What is with that?
I think because that way, if it's a giant disaster, you want to see a microcosm of society be affected by it.
Right.
So you got the rich, you got the poor, you got the crazy, you got this.
But you can find that in I don't know. You've got to be able to find that without the ensemble meander.
Yeah, it's called Pompeii.
Right. Well, now I'm excited.
What are we talking about?
I know how it ends though.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. You told me to.
What are you going to see this weekend?
Oh God, nothing comes out. Oh, actually, that's not true. I want to go see The Wind Rises, the Miyazaki's latest.
Okay, real talk time. I got to get this out there. I've never seen a Miyazaki film.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd say this. I'm pretty limited in it. Like I've never seen his big one. Like
slipping through my fingers, you know.
My Neighbor Totoro, and that's the thing. Actually, I think your kids actually would probably groove on My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, other things like I don't know if Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke would be in their realm. They may be a little on the slower side for them. Spirited Away, you need to see. Spirited Away, I think, is fantastic. Yeah, but like I've never seen Howl's Moving Castle or Nausicaa or Porco Rosa is the one actually I really want to see that I've never taken the time to watch. So yeah, he's got. I've got huge gaps in my Miyazaki thing in my Miyazaki in the Miyazaki oeuvre. But yeah, so The Wind Rises is going wider this weekend, and I'm hoping to find a subtitle show of it somewhere to check out. So that's going to be that's on the list for this week.
Have you seen Nonstop yet?
What's that?
Nonstop.
I'm not going to see Nonstop.
You're not going to see it? Oh, man.
No. I've seen Taken.
I have not. I have not seen the retrofitted Liam Neeson oeuvre yet.
Really?
Yeah. I've not seen either Taken and now Nonstop.
I saw Taken 2 somehow, and then whatever one that he was in with Diane Kruger and January Jones, where he's no longer himself, like his identity is stolen by somebody else. That was another. Yeah, Liam Neeson. I mean, Liam Paycheck Neeson.
Right.
Although here's the problem, and we are at fault for this. I find myself at fault for this. Is that when Liam Neeson did Taken, that was such an out of left field role for him. And I was so blown away by how. I mean, again, it's a streamlined, Luc Besson written film.
Uh-huh.
You know, there's nothing about it that's going to make you go, oh, that's a great movie. But the first time you see Liam Neeson kick ass, you're like, that's Oscar Schindler.
Well, he did that in Batman Begins. I mean, I certainly felt I watch that movie every chance I get. I feel that way every time I see it.
He did, but
finally, Schindler, you're fighting back the way you should have back then.
But he wasn't. He had a philosophy. You know what I mean? It was like he wasn't he didn't really. He had people kicking ass, and he did a little fighting, but it wasn't like
ass kicker.
It wasn't the blow guys' faces off. I'm gonna get you out of revenge. You know, I have a special set of skills stuff.
So you're saying he was not a man on fire?
No, he's a man on fire.
Right.
He's on. Oh, he's on. Oh no, he's not a man. No, he's not a man on fire. He's not a man on fire in Batman Begins. No. So Taken, the A-Team,
which I guess I have seen, and I guess I've seen Clash of the Titans.
Oh yeah, Clash of the Titans doesn't count either. I don't feel. I think that's.
It totally counts.
Oh, now, did you see The Gray?
No.
The Gray is
that's Mamet, right?
No. That's
somebody significant.
Well, significant's a strong word. It's the same guy that made the.
I could not be more wrong. It is Joe Carnahan.
Yeah, Joe Carnahan. Well, Narc is really good.
Yeah.
Taken 2. God, what the hell? Why am I not seeing Unknown, where he played Dr. Martin Harris? Was another one of these. I mean, literally, if you look at the poster for Unknown, it is as close to the poster for Nonstop. It's and they're all directed by Frenchmen. Interesting. Yeah, Unknown is a horrible. Now it's just another one of those crap films. And nobody's going to do as well as he'll never do as well as. This is going to sound weird. He'll never be in another action film the same way that he was in Taken. I think the first time you see that. Oh, and he was the History Channel host in Anchorman 2. All
right. I think we've rambled too much because now I'm looking at Joe Carnahan.
Sorry, yeah. And also now,
He's the executive producer of The Blacklist.
Who? Carnahan?
Yeah.
Everybody needs.
Perfect.
Oh, that's right. Because
TV.
He directed the pilot.
Yeah, he just directed 3 episodes.
Yeah, hey, you got to bring in that. I mean, you get a good TV series. You direct the pilot of a TV series that goes for a while.
Yeah.
You're making bank.
And he's whatever his limitations are as a director, I think he'd be a very good director on television. I think he'd bring a lot to that party. As a connoisseur of television series, I think he would do very, very well.
I actually think he's a very solid director who does much better with his own material or with things that he feels much more personal to versus taking a paycheck. I don't think The Gray was a paycheck movie. I think that's something that he
wrote
believed in.
He wrote the screenplay.
Okay, yeah. So that, and Narc is another one. I don't know. I think he was having a lot of fun when he made Aces High, even though I didn't like that one. Not Aces High, Smoking Aces.
Yeah.
But I didn't like that one. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, it's the career of Joe Carnahan for you. It's tough to survive. It's tough to be it's tough to be an auteur in today's film business. I mean, Scorsese says himself that a lot of his movies he probably would not have gotten made had DiCaprio not been attached to them. So. Oh,
I'm sure. But I think for some of those movies they shouldn't have gotten made.
Well,
I said it. I mean, the DiCaprio Scorsese pairing has not been as successful as I would like.
Yeah, but you're looking at what, 3 and 2? I mean, that's 3 good over 2 bad. That's not horrible.
I guess one of the things that I always associate really good Martin Scorsese films with is that they are in some way revelatory as art. And I don't see it. Entertaining as his recent work may be, I don't see it.
Yeah, I also don't know if that world exists anymore. I think for bigger films like that. I mean,
Well, think about. I'm going to take the big 3, so maybe it's not that fair, but Mean Streets and Taxi Driver and Raging Bull.
Sure, all during the time though when directors were king of the hill in Hollywood.
And you're telling me Scorsese is not king of his own hill?
No. I mean, he didn't even have final cut on Gangs of New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Who did? I guess Miramax at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were notorious for that. You're telling me he didn't have final cut of The Wolf of Wall Street?
It's a tough call. I don't think so. I think
Oscar-winning director Martin Scorsese would take a job in which he does not have final cut of a Martin Scorsese film.
I think that's a lot less. I mean, you don't always get final cut anymore. I mean, I think a lot of people. There's been a huge shift. I think a lot of times you get the whole final cut thing is we'll put your cut out on DVD. I think there's that. There's a lot of horse trading going on these days in cinema to get stuff made, because if you don't have giant CGI robots in it, I think it's harder for. I think Final Cut probably doesn't exist as much as it used to. I mean, there was the whole thing about with Spielberg couldn't get Lincoln made.
Right, but you don't get certain movies. You don't get made because nobody with a lot of money believes that they're going to make money on that movie.
Right, but you don't think Steven Spielberg can't get a movie made?
I think people are home now.
Okay.
Yes, I do think he can, but I think he can't get financing. He can't pay for the whole movie himself and all the extras and everything.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times the.
All right.
Hi, John.
Hey, how's it going? Hi. Got a lot more crowded in here.
And with that, another show comes to a close. All right, so next week.
You may recognize her from the Russ Meyer episode.
Oh, hi.
That's a premiere, I believe, right there.
Breakthrough.
I'll Geek Primer before.
I like how she's just taking a prime seat in the back. That was a dog that I was seeing on the couch. I was trying to figure out what was moving back there. Okay.
You thought it just kept getting strangely pixelated?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was something bizarre. Anyways,
really good on my end.
I was going to get into actually Hell's Angels since we were on the Scorsese thing and Howard Hughes and The Aviator. I had a good segue. We'll save that one for next week.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on him. or should limit an episode to just him.
Yeah, yeah. So next week,
or Michael Crichton, either one.
Crichton. I downloaded Looker, and I've been slowly watching it again because I keep falling asleep every 3 minutes.
What? Is he being zapped? What's happening?
You can't make Looker jokes yet. We're not talking about that.
Next week.
You know what I caught on FX the other day, and it was perfect because I just got the very, very end, was Beowulf. Have you finished Beowulf yet?
No, I'm finding it really tough to watch Beowulf.
Just muscle through, if for no other reason than to hear the world's worst song attached to the credits of a movie that it doesn't fit on. Beowulf is so awesome for that.
My heart's as dark as Grendel.
Yeah, it's that good. It's one of those
like the Beowulf.
Bryan Adams penned, "You do not belong on this movie" kind of songs.
Nice. Okay. Well, God, I'll just skip to the end. Okay, so next week, Tremendo and Shu should be with us. We'll have some interesting topics, hopefully, that we can banter back and forth with. This actually went over an hour, so that's...
Yeah, I know.
We can talk.
That might be a little long.
Nobody's watched. 5 views. I think they were all us. So anyways, folks, all right, folks, join us next week, same bat time, same bat channel, for more batshit insane discussions. We'll talk to you then. Adios.
All right.